In 2010, Spider-Man: Shattered Dimensions gave us something we'd never seen before, 4 different Spider-Men from 4 unique universes, all coming together in one massive crossover adventure. It was stylish, ambitious, and ahead of its time, a game that would go on to inspire both Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. But despite its success, a true sequel never came. The follow-up, Edge of Time, was smaller in scope, only featuring 2 Spider-Men, and while it had its fans, it never captured the magic of that first multiversal crossover. So the question remains, what would have happened if we got Shattered Dimensions 2? Let's imagine what that sequel might have looked like, the story, the characters, the gameplay, and how it could have expanded one of the coolest Spider-Man universes ever created. The first Shattered Dimensions ended with the 4 Spider-Men, Amazing, Noir 2099, and Ultimate, working together to defeat Mysterio, who had gained godlike powers after collecting all the fragments of the Tablet of Order and Chaos. At the end, the worlds were restored, but there were hints that the tablet's energy still lingered. Mysterio might have been stopped, but that kind of cosmic power doesn't just disappear. A sequel could have started with that energy-fracturing reality once again, not by breaking the barriers between universes, but by blending them together. Imagine chunks of each Spider-Man's world colliding, futuristic skyscrapers appearing in Noir's dark city, or symbiote creatures invading the bright skyline of the Amazing Universe. This dimensional fusion storyline would instantly raise the stakes, not just a crisis between worlds, but a full-on collision of timelines. The first game gave us 4 Spider-Men, the sequel could have doubled that. Imagine this roster. Spider-Man Amazing, the classic Peter Parker, fast and quippy as ever, the emotional core of the team. Spider-Man Noir, still brooding and methodical, maybe now facing what happens when his 1930s world starts mixing with the future. Spider-Man 2099, the tech-driven hero from the future, whose knowledge of time travel becomes essential. Ultimate Spider-Man symbiote suit, still struggling with control, representing the danger of unchecked power. But then, new heroes join the mix. Spider-Gwen, agile, acrobatic, and emotionally connected to her own Peter Parker's death. She'd bring a fresh dynamic and serve as a bridge between generations. Miles Morales, the next-gen Spider-Man, maybe even new to his powers, stepping into a war between realities. Spider-Man Unlimited, the version from the 1999 animated series, living on Counter-Earth, a world ruled by animal hybrids. Superior Spider-Man, Dr. Octopus as Spider-Man, providing tension and moral conflict within the group. The sequel could have played with personality clashes, the arrogance of Superior Spider-Man versus the purity of Miles, or the grim tone of Noir clashing with Gwen's optimism. It wouldn't just be about fighting, it would be about these very different heroes learning to trust each other to save a universe that's tearing itself apart. Mysterio was a fantastic villain in the first game, visually creative and narratively fitting, but a sequel would need someone bigger. Enter Khan, the multiversal vampire from the Spider-Verse comics, or perhaps Madame Web's darker counterpart, a corrupted version who believes that the only way to fix the multiverse is to destroy all but one reality. Alternatively, the game could have introduced a version of the Superior Carnage, or even the Inheritors, feeding on Spider-Men across dimensions. Imagine a story where the villains aren't trying to conquer the multiverse, they're devouring it. Each dimension's collapse fuels the next. And as the barriers weaken, the Spider-Men begin to feel the effects. Memory loss, duplicate versions of themselves appearing, even reality itself rewriting them mid-battle. One of the best things about Shattered Dimensions was how each Spider-Man had unique mechanics and visual styles. A sequel would have doubled down on that, but with a modern twist. Amazing Spider-Man could have a fully open-world Manhattan, blending elements from Spider-Man PS4 with fast-paced web combat. Noir Spider-Man could have stealth sections enhanced by light and shadow mechanics, maybe even interrogation gameplay similar to Batman: Arkham City. Spider-Man 2099 could have high-speed aerial chases through neon skylines, using futuristic gadgets and holograms. Ultimate Spider-Man could have symbiote-powered abilities with moral choices. Do you use the power for good or risk being consumed by it? And for newcomers like Miles, gameplay could emphasize bioelectric venom powers and invisibility, while Gwen could use acrobatic movement and rhythm-based combat, tying into her drummer background. Each world would feel like its own distinct game, but the story would constantly bring them together, forcing you to jump between characters as realities overlap. What made Shattered Dimensions special wasn't just its concept, it was the personality of each Spider-Man. A sequel could have leaned even harder into that emotional core. Imagine a story where the dimensional crisis causes versions of Peter Parker to confront their own pasts, literally. Maybe Amazing Spider-Man meets a future version of himself who never stopped being Spider-Man. Maybe Noir faces a world where he failed. Maybe Ultimate Peter meets Miles, realizing he's not the only hero who can carry the mantle. It wouldn't just be a crossover, it would be a reflection of what Spider-Man means across generations. Each version could represent a different stage of Peter's life: youth, experience, loss, and legacy. The story could explore how being Spider-Man means something different in every world, yet the heart, the responsibility, the compassion remains the same. If the sequel had followed through with the idea of universes colliding, the final act could have been massive. Picture this: every Spider-Man fighting side by side in a single, collapsing dimension, skyscrapers flickering between styles, the skyline torn between 1930s buildings and futuristic towers. The villain's plan reaches its peak, one merged world, powered by every Spider-Man's essence. But the only way to stop it is to separate the worlds again, meaning that once they win, none of them will remember what happened, none of them will remember each other. It would be a bittersweet ending, a true Spider-Man ending: sacrifice over glory, responsibility over desire. And as the dimensions fade, the last thing we'd hear is that iconic line: "My name is Peter Parker, and no matter what world I'm in, I'm Spider-Man." Looking back, Shattered Dimensions laid the groundwork for the modern multiverse storytelling that dominates superhero media today. Before Spider-Verse, before No Way Home, Shattered Dimensions showed us how powerful it can be to see different Spider-Men side by side. A sequel could have been a love letter to every generation of Spider-Man fans, from the comic readers of the 60s to the kids growing up with Miles Morales now. And even though we never got Shattered Dimensions 2, its spirit lives on in Spider-Verse, in Across the Spider-Verse, and in every fan theory that asks, what if all these Spider-Men could meet again? Maybe one day they will. If you enjoyed this deep dive into what Spider-Man, Shattered Dimensions 2 could have been, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more gaming and storytelling content. And tell me in the comments, which Spider-Man would you want to see in the sequel?